As always, on behalf of everyone here at Derby County Football Club, thank you for your support, not just tonight, but throughout the season as well. And I'm sure you'd like to join me in welcoming owner David Clowes, who is with us this evening as well. We have something slightly different for you tonight from previous events. At the second half of the evening, we will be joined by Chief Executive Officer Stephen Pearce and men's first team head coach John Eustace. They will take questions from the floor from you, as well as the ones we've had in advance. Shortly, we'll be joined by representatives from the supporters board for an update on the work that they've been doing. But first this evening, we wanted to give you the chance to hear from a couple of the club's key partners. So please welcome Craig Miller from our official kit and training wear partner Puma, and from our official fan loyalty partner and front of shirt sponsor Fanhub, Gareth Lippiad. Gave themselves quite a long walk there, you see. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for being with us tonight. Just want to give everyone a bit of an insight into the partnerships that the club has with both of your companies. Gareth, start with you if we can. We're all very used to seeing the Fanhub logo on the front of the shirt now. I think it's the third season that you've been with the football club. Just in case anyone doesn't know, they know the name but don't know what you do. What are Fanhub? What do you do?
So it feels like a lifetime ago, COVID, if anyone remembers that. Fanhub started life on my kitchen table during COVID. And I have a co-founder called Harley, Bristol Rovers fan. The gap that we thought we saw in the market, and obviously it's been proved to be correct to some degree at least, was that fans love stats. We all love them. But all of the apps out there are about stats on clubs or players, and that's great. But at the time, I was using this app called Strava, if any of you are familiar with that. It records your exercise and allows you to get insights and assets that you can share on social media and say what a great run you've had. And I thought, as a match-going fan myself, wouldn't it be great if there was an app which kept a record of all my own stats, all of the games that I've been to. I've been going to games for decades, so I can't remember which ones I was at. And going forward, it would just be amazing if I did have a record of what I've been to, how many miles I've travelled, which stadiums I've been at, all the number of goals I've seen, all of that stuff. So that's how Fanhub started life. And just to bring you up to present day, really, what we've also found is that brands are really interested in fan loyalty as well. So putting those two things together, we've just done a promotion with a brand called Weekend Offender. And what they wanted to do was distribute discount vouchers, like a 20% discount voucher, which is the best deal you can get with Weekend Offender, to any fans which checked in at 2 games during the month of October and November. So fan gets rewarded for their loyalty, and Weekend Offender gets some new customers. We're doing something similar with Fanatics this month. So that's the genesis of Fanhub and a bit about what we're doing now.
And what about the connection with Derby? How did that relationship begin?
Yeah, so I mentioned that one of my colleagues was, or still is, Bristol Rovers fan. That was the first deal that we did. That was more of a emotional one that I did on his behalf to get that shirt. Unfortunately, we still got it. Lessons learned. But one of my other colleagues, who's also a really good friend of mine, is a massive Derby fan. So once he saw that I had the checkbook out to get Bristol Rovers, he kind of made it his life's mission to get something over the line here. I think he connected with Dave, and lo and behold, we ended up on the training shirt soon after. Things went really well, got on well with the team here. Hopefully they liked us as well. And that's how the relationship grew from there, really.
Craig, let me come to you. When I think back to my formative years watching Derby, a lot of those great moments happen from players that are wearing Puma shirts, and there are some brilliant examples at the back of the room tonight as well. So it was really exciting for me when you came back on board a couple of years ago. Talk to us about how Puma view the partnership with Derby.
Well, yeah, I have similar experience, really. So my memories of Derby are wearing those same iconic kits from that time period. We have a really unique but very fun opportunity to tell some fun stories, really. I suppose the partnership itself, Puma's UK strategy is quite unique. So football in the UK is like no other country. If you think of the amount of professional sports clubs or teams there are, the leagues that are involved with that as well, put that across anywhere across Europe, anywhere across the world, it's not comparable. So we look to partner with clubs where we can add value. We want to see as many Puma products out there. We want, obviously, the brand and the club to have this cohesiveness. We want to share and align in the brand values. And yeah, coming on board has been a real pleasure for us. So from my point of view, I came to watch a game here a couple of years ago, a League One fixture, and there were 30,000 people here on a Saturday afternoon, which it's astronomical, really. You think what levels of attendances are in some Premier League games, which is the richest league in the world. Yeah, Pride Park's hosting 30,000 people here. So from a Puma perspective, made no-brainer, we came on board.
I cannot tell you the number of Puma boxers I've seen arrive at Moor Farm and be hauled around Pride Park Stadium over the last couple of years.
I know them, yeah.
Just tell us exactly what Puma provides to the club in terms of not just shirts, but everything else.
So long story short, it will be training wear products and match day products for the departments across the club. So that can be anything from the men's first team to the women's to the academy, community trust. It can be day-to-day staff here at Pride Park. There's a relationship with Fanatics in the retail environment, which sits slightly differently, but same product and that side of things. I suppose the way it would work, it could even be something that's ordered 9 to 12 months in advance for match kit. So that could be Davo wanting his home kit arrive on a certain time for the first team. And it could be something as simple as a grounds person that's new and wants a beanie. So it's managing those moments from our side of things as being as proactive as we can to make sure we hit the deadline so the club can run smoothly and efficiently. But there's always a requirement from a professional football team that requires something yesterday. So we try to manage those moments as best we can.
We'll talk more about kit later because I know it's something that people always have questions about. Gareth, Fanhub partners with a few clubs, I think, a couple of national teams as well. Tell us about some of those other connections that you have and what do you look for in partnerships?
Yeah, sure. So our strategy's changed slightly in the last couple of years, but what we were thinking 2 years ago was the data that we had from all of our app users was the best quality supporters were further down the leagues. Actually, the lower down you get, the better quality users we get in terms of their engagement, and I guess that's intuitive if you think of Bath City, my local club, that's a different type of fan to somebody that supports Manchester United. So what we did a bit of analysis of trying to identify clubs with massive fan bases but had been punching beneath their weight on the pitch, so ended up in a division probably below where they belong. So that took us to Bradford, it took us to Derby here. We also identified that Scotland in particular was a good place for us to be, so we did Hearts, where we still are as well, and Hibs. And that's kind of worked well, but what we've also realised is in order to scale, it's not possible for us to have partnerships with every club in the country, certainly not anytime soon. So the way that we've evolved that is to do partnerships as their official loyalty app of national teams. So we've done Scotland, Northern Ireland. I was in Cardiff the other day for the game there. We haven't announced that one yet, but spoiler.
We'll edit that one out for you.
They know what's coming. And the reason for doing that is, one, because of the volume, but also because if we manage to get a deal with a certain other home nation that's much larger than the others, then we would have an offering for every fan in the UK, and that's really what we're looking to do, reward the loyalty of any fan, whichever division they're in, and we thought the best way to do that is partnering with national teams.
And presumably you're developing the app all the time, so what else is in the pipeline, if there are things you can talk to us about?
Yeah, a couple of big changes, actually. I think one of the things that I'm really good in business at is spotting things that I've seen in hindsight and should have known from the start. Because one of the major changes we're shifting to is away from the Fanhub app and actually becoming the official loyalty apps of the rights holders that we're partnering with. And it's pretty obvious, really, in hindsight, isn't it, that fans love their club. Everyone here tonight is here because they love Derby County, not because they've come to hear Gareth Lippiatt from Fanhub, unfortunately. So we've realised that actually we're making a bit of a mistake, spending a huge amount of money trying to create this brand affinity for a brand that no one is ever going to love as much as their own club. Now, what we have done is we've created a digital product that really works. So the average app would be more like a media-based app for a club, and typically that would lose 95 out of 100 users within 30 days, whereas we're retaining more like 50 out of the 100. So our retention stats are really good, and that gives you something to work with. And therefore, we're thinking if we put these two things together, the fans' unique bond for the club that they love, and a really engaging product, that's going to look really interesting. So that's one change that you'll see coming up in the coming weeks. And then the other thing is that we've always rewarded behaviours, so predicting the starting 11 right or checking in at a game, we've rewarded those behaviours with loyalty points. But actually, we're a business, and at the end of the day, we have to generate revenue. There's lots and lots of businesses out there that really value loyalty as a way of reaching new customers, as other channels, social media in particular, are becoming more expensive and more difficult to cut through. Brands are looking for different ways to reach their target market, and one of the key ways is through loyalty. So we've been working on a bit of tech for, feels like 9 months now, but essentially, as well as rewarding fans' behaviour, we'll also be rewarding fans' spending. So every time you spend money with Derby County, whether that's buying a ticket or in the club shop or a pint at half-time, you'll get rewarded with loyalty points, and we're improving the things that you can use those loyalty points for as well. That's the other part of the equation, which we do need to do a bit more work on. But essentially, you can think of Tesco Club Card for football clubs. I'll tell you the other bit at the end.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, Craig, let's get to it then. Every year, when the kits come out, whether people like the designs or not, and I think this year's have gone down fantastically well, but there's always a couple of comments. One is about price, and one is about design, and perhaps more specifically, why can't the fans be involved in the design? So which one of those delightful topics would you like to address first? Design or price?
Are those 3 separate hospital passes, or how's that work?
I apologise.
It's okay. So I suppose from a cost point of view, we have to be super conscious as a brand of what our costs are. Now, in a world where that can be anything from manufacturing costs, sourcing costs, quality control, product development, shipping, distribution, and operations, all that fun stuff that we don't want to talk about, and some I will have missed. We've got to be super conscious of that, and I think more than anything as a brand, we owe it to our partners to be really transparent with those as well. Derby County shirts are made at the same material and the same factory as some of our other key partners, so the Man Cities of the world, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, Portugal, so you really are one of our key partners, and bringing that level of service and product to this club was part of the reason we were brought on board. So the bespoke offering that we have is something that obviously would have been part of our selection criteria. So from a design point of view, we're in a position where we work probably 18 months in advance. So we send out our product team, our development team out to Germany to be shown the direction for the shirts and the kits for the upcoming seasons, and a bit around some of the product development that we have on offer for our clubs. We'll bring that to the clubs across design meetings, multiple of those, be in-person teams. We can go down here, can go up to Manchester where our offices are, and we really do work with the team here quite closely. And yeah, it's a long process. There's lots of things we have to take into account. So things like previous kits that have gone well. We've got some wonderful stories that we can tell here with our history with across the club. We've got things to try and disrupt and shock. We want to try and be that brand that challenges things. We want to try and create product that excites people. So yeah, that's kind of where the designs go really. And from a fan involvement, the feedback is always really important to us. The feedback from our side of things will be sales. If you don't like the kits, you won't buy them. If they're sold really well and they're worn on match day, they're worn outside of Derby, outside of Pride Park, we know we're doing our jobs properly. And I think more than anything, we're very proud to be on the front of your shirt. And we're very proud of what we've produced so far and looking forward to producing more.
So in terms of timelines then, is next year's kits done and dusted already?
Yep, they're all done.
And they look like?
I'll bring up on the screen for you. Yeah, so strangely, I mean, what will end up happening is we'll sign off kits with the club that will be signed off before the next season's kits are even delivered. We work that far in advance. It's really important that we do that with all of our partners because strategically the club have to find a way to have launch plans. They have to be able to bring the kit in time for the departments to have their kits so they can then go and do their pre-seasons, all these other little things that might not be necessarily at the forefront of people's mind. But more than anything, we need the time to do the design work and give the clubs the time and the care and attention to produce product that we're proud of.
Gareth, we'll come back to you for finish, mainly because you trailed ahead so nicely to sort of your next bit of detail. So what's sort of the next thing for the app then? What are you seeing in the future of fan engagement?
Yeah, so it's quite a complex problem that we're trying to solve, actually, because we're trying to create a product which rewards fans, generates more revenue for clubs, but without charging their own fans more money, because, of course, none of us have got more money because the price of everything keeps going up. So that's the challenge we've had. I mentioned this kind of concept that we've evolved called the Tesco Club Card concept, so fans get rewarded for their spending. And the way that we have evolved that and thought about it and how can we add value to the club, the fans and the community is when you think about it, where does the majority of Derby County fans spend the majority of their money? It's in the local community, and yet it's actually really difficult for clubs to come up with an offering for local businesses that makes sense because much bigger and wealthier brands want to get their brand up around the stadium. And of course, a small business isn't necessarily about brand awareness, it's more about transactions. How do I get more customers? So the way that we are going to be using the inventory that we get as our partnership is that we're going to be donating that to as many different local businesses as we can. And the way that it will work is every time a Derby County fan that is using our app and has uploaded their debit or credit card, whenever they make a transaction with a local business, there's one, they'll earn loyalty points for it, but two, there's always also a chance that they'll win an instant reward, which could be playing on the pitch at Pride Park or VIP hospitality, something of that nature. So we're thinking that, one, that's a really good way to reward fans, but two, it's a great way that local businesses can actually engage with the club and benefit from Derby County fans' loyalty without them actually having to pay anything up front. How does the club benefit? Well, we specifically look for businesses that have high margins but are really keen to get more customers. So that's pubs, barbers, restaurants, takeaways, those kind of businesses. And in return for us bringing them more customers and more transactions, we take a percentage of the revenue and split that with the club.
Gents, I know you both travelled a long way to be here tonight, so we really do appreciate your time, and your partnerships are both really important to the football club. So let's hear it for Gareth and Craig, everyone. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Really do appreciate you making the effort to be here tonight. Now, it's getting on for 18 months since the first members of the Derby County Supporters Board were first appointed. We think it's useful for them to have this platform at every fans forum to stay connected with the wider fan base. So please welcome two members of the Derby County Supporters Board to the stage tonight. Jazz Gidder and Alex Leyland are here. Again, give themselves a long walk to get up. Guys, to kick off, people will have been here previously. They'll have watched the stream as well, but I think it's always useful to remind everyone sort of who you are and what the Supporters Board is. So let's start there. What is the Supporters Board? What is the purpose of it?
Yeah, I can feel this one. The long walk's fine. Last time I was here, I stood up, so I've got a chair this time, so I feel like I've been promoted.
Gone up in the world, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, supporters board, to put it simply, we play a role in representing fans' views in the decision-making at the club. So there's several of us, there's 6 of us on the supporters board, and we meet with the club regularly. We meet with Stephen Pearce and the other executive members of the leadership team, and we're really there to focus on the financial sustainability of the club, to focus on the governance procedures of the club, to make sure that it's being kind of run in the interests of the fans. I think why that's important is really important to kind of reflect on what football clubs are. It's a lot more than just kind of 3 points on a Saturday. I was actually looking at here, you know, you've got all of the kind of values here about heartbeat of the community. So Derby is the heartbeat of the community. You know, Derby plays a really central role in our lives and football clubs' lives. And I think what's really important is that the highs and lows of following a football club are based on what's going on the pitch, not what's going on off the pitch. And there are lots of examples of clubs like Sheffield Wednesday and ourselves in the recent past where those highs and lows have been more about, are we going to have a football club or not? So what we do is we provide a route for fans to work with us, to ask questions of the club, to really focus on the governance of the club, to really hold them to account on kind of how they're running the club, so that it's not just here and successful. We want the club to be successful, of course, but we want the club to be successful and sustainable and here for our kind of kids in the future generations. So that's the role that we try and play and we kind of try and do for you guys.
And tell us, remind us, Jazz, about the structure of the board and I guess who you guys are.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the structure of the board is kind of 6 members, like Alex said, and they're made up of 2 from the Supporters Charter Group members and 4 independent members. Now, the whole structure of the Supporters Board was developed with the FSA, and I think one of the most important aspects of the way we're structured and our purpose was really driven by David Clowes as well. It was his initiative when he took over the club was to improve governance. And then we worked with the FSA to understand, okay, what kind of structure for the Supporters Board is going to be most effective to be able to deliver that. So I was on the Supporters Charter Group as a Punjabi Rams representative, and it was using that initiative from which was driven by the club to set up the Supporters Board, which really drove me to be more involved in the governance side of it, as well as what the Supporters Charter Group were doing, which is the match day experience elements. Alex is one of the independent members, and I'll let him explain a bit more about the independent members.
So I joined the Supporters Board not through one of the fan groups, so there's 4 of us that are independent members. That would be myself, Steve, Craig and Stella, who all send their apologies. They couldn't make it tonight for various reasons, so you're stuck with us. So apologies for that too. So we went through an interview process. So you may remember a couple of years ago there was a applications process where people who wanted to apply could. There was a short list. We had interviews with representatives from the FSA and the football club, and then we were selected off the back of that. And it was really about kind of what I guess what our kind of professional background is really, like have we got the right skill set to kind of ask the right questions of the club and to represent fans. There's 4 of us through the independent route, and that's kind of the process that we went through.
You mentioned the Supporters Charter Group already, and we've got Sarah, Supporter Liaison Officer, so there's lots of ways that fans can interact with the club. So tell us a bit about what the Supporters Board does and what you don't do, what other avenues fans have.
Okay, I think one of the most important aspects is we don't get involved in the football side. We have no say in the football side. It's more about we're looking at the governance side of the club. We have certain consent topics where we have a veto, and it's on the heritage side. So it's the club name, club colours, moving away from Pride Park, and if the club wanted to change any aspects of that, the Supporters Board do have a veto, and if they did want to change anything, then that's the time when we would consult with the wider fan base through the Supporters Charter Group or directly with fans and stuff. So that's the areas which we have a veto on, but then there's the other areas where which are classified as discussion points, where we can raise questions about the governance, about the financing of the club, about the club's environmental strategies, social strategy, and aspects like that. So, kind of we look at it more from a kind of a governance and perspective, and that's where we're slightly different to the SCG. And the SCG, the Supporters Charter Group, is concentrating more on the fan experience and on fan engagement as well. So that's where we try and kind of differ in them elements.
So early this month, the club announced its financial results for the year ending June 2025. It's probably a good case study to explain and demonstrate to people exactly what the board does. So what are your interactions with the club around the accounts coming out?
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of go back 12 months actually, because this time last year when the accounts came out was the first time we reviewed them. So there was a huge amount of work for us to do to understand how the club is run. So this year we've got 18 months worth of knowledge really about how the club operates, who the important people are, what their strategy is. So reviewing the accounts, the best way I could describe it is it kind of happens all throughout the year. So the accounts are published once a year, but we have meetings with the club once every 2 or 3 months where they go through their budgeting with us. They give us regular updates on how much money they're kind of spending, what's happening, the governance around that, the sustainability around that. So really, when we get to the point where the accounts are published and we review them, so that's the kind of all of the financial statements, we've already had 12 months of the club telling us what's going to happen. So when we review the accounts, it's really a process of saying, well, actually, you told us X, Y, and Z. Is that replicated in the accounts? That can give us a lot of confidence in terms of how they're running the club. Is it sustainable? Where is the money coming from? Are the assurances there? I think the club have also been really kind of transparent as well in terms of what they show us. So they take us through the accounts and take our questions ahead of them being published. They also take us through the press briefings as well, so we can understand what's going to be communicated. I think this year we had a kind of a chance to feed into that as well, to say, well, actually, people might want to know about X, Y, and Z, and they were really receptive to that. They also showed us their independent financial audit as well, so the accounts are audited. They don't publish that full audit, but they did show us, so that gives us a huge amount of insight into assurances around kind of have they made the right assumptions, have they published the right information. So yeah, so I think the kind of the process is it kind of happens all year round, and really when the finances are published, it should just line up with our expectations. And I mean, this year very much did, and that's kind of testament to what Stephen and the team tell us and talk through with us, and kind of the questions that we ask as well on behalf of fans to make sure that we're kind of comfortable with how the club's being run.
And using the finances as an example, but I suppose this could apply to anything. Maybe the club one day says we want to change the name or whatever. What happens if something is said or you discover something that does alarm you, that you either need to question them on, or what's the process there?
Well, there's a number of processes which we can go through. I mean, first off is to quiz the club, and we can ask them questions. But if we're not getting the right answers, or if we don't think something's quite right, we do have other avenues as well. Now, there's a recently established football regulator, so we can go directly to them. We can go to the EFL as well, and there are other avenues, the FA as well. So we can, if we don't like something which isn't quite right, and we're not getting the right answers from the club, we do have other avenues which we can explore to ensure that the club is being operated in the correct way.
I know you're only 18 months in. There's been a lot to get your heads around. So now the feet are under the table. What's next? What are you looking at next?
Yeah, so our next meeting is a week on Monday, so 1st of December. So we have reviewed the financial statements. The next meeting, we've got some representatives from Clouds Developments there who are board members of the club. So we're going to have a chance to talk to those guys about the like long-term strategy. We also want to take a slightly different approach this time. So I think when we've been here before, we've always kind of been quite open and said, if you've had any questions, you can email us. What we want to do this year, we've actually had some questions to our mailbox about the finances. So we want to take this as an opportunity ahead of the 1st of December to really kind of ask you and kind of people who watch back on RamsTV that if you have any questions about the finances, about the strategy of the club, it might be a big question, it might be a little question. You might just want to know more about kind of what we do to kind of oversee this type of thing. Please send them to us ahead of the next meeting, because what we want to do is put those questions to the club and kind of publish the answers in a bit of an FAQ document. One part of our role is really helping to ensure that the way the club is run is transparent. So it's not just about us asking our questions. There will be lots of questions or perspectives from people in the audience today or at home that we might not have thought of. So we really want to use this as an opportunity to kind of ask you to kind of get in touch, to ask us whether you think it's a big question or a small question, a silly question. There are no silly questions. Please just reach out to us and we'll kind of commit to publishing that after the meeting as well. Again, we really want to bridge the gap between, let's be honest, like the finances are quite a dry element of football, and independent football regulators are. We want to try and bridge the gap to try and make it more understandable and give actually people a route to ask questions that you might want to know, or comments as well. Like if you've got comments for the club, it might not be a question, it might just be feedback. We really want to hear that as well, so we can kind of represent any feedback that you've got in the right way.
So if people have questions, how do they get in touch? What are the avenues?
Yeah, I mean, we've got an email address. It's the supportersboard at dcfc.co.uk. You're more than welcome to email us in on that. But generally, for any type of questions in the future, you can use that email address, or through the Supporters Charter Group. We're trying to work much closer with the Supporters Charter Group. We are two distinct groups, but we do need to work together across that, and they channel questions through to us as well. So there are a number of different routes to get hold of us, really.
And I was going to say, and we're also here tonight. So if you've got any questions today, Jazz and I will be floating around in the break and afterwards. So please feel free to come and talk to us if you want to. You don't have to, but yeah.
I was going to say, the guys are sticking around. Let's hear it. Jazz Gidder and Alex Leyland from the Derby County Supporters Board. That is it for the first half. We're going to break for 15 minutes or so, and then we'll have John Eustace and Stephen Pearce with us after the break. Thank you very much indeed. Now time to welcome our next guest to the stage, Derby County Chief Executive Officer Stephen Pearce and Derby County Men's Head Coach John Eustace. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. John, for his sins, has to talk to me all the time, so I will start with Stephen, if that's okay. Give us your summary of where we stand 4 months into the campaign.
All I'd say first is this was actually advertised before the Oxford game. That's all I'll say. So we've not fixed this at 5 on the bounce, but I'm glad we have. No, in terms of the season so far, look, we all it says, we always say that we'll do what we say we're going to do. And I think when we had the last fans forum and we said, look, this is what we wanted to do in the transfer window, this is the order of business that we do, all that type of stuff, and from John's interviews in terms of that you heard at the start of the season about we've got to build slowly and not necessarily run away with expectations, but things will get better after the first international break. We basically said what we we've done what we said we'd do, and I think that's testament to everybody at the football club in all the different departments. But listen, we're really, really pleased. I think you can see the sales are obviously where we ended up with the season tickets, the match day attendances, retention of Fanhub, and with Puma on board and Tonic again. I think it's we believe we're in a great place, and we'll continue to build from there. So really happy.
John, we know you've got a particularly busy week ahead, so we appreciate your time this evening. Give us your assessment of how things are going so far.
Hi everyone. Listen, I think up to now it's been obviously challenging, exciting. I think everyone who's part of the football club at the training ground and behind the scenes can see the potential of the squad, can see where the squad's going. I said it was always going to be a slow start through recruitment, coming a little bit late, and injuries and suspensions and all that kind of stuff, but I think potential is there for everyone to see, and I've come here at the football club over the next 2 and 3, 4 seasons to make sure that we're challenging in the Championship and in the Premier League, and that's where we want to get to. It's not done overnight for sure, and I think if you're going to build anything, you've got to lay the right foundations, and with the work of David, especially, the way he's backed the club since he's been here, and especially since I've come, and work with Stephen and behind the scenes, I think everything's geared for that success, but it's going to be slow and it's going to take time, and I think we're in a really good position now in the league, but there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, and the most important thing is that the Derby County family stick together for the next 2 or 3 years, and eventually we'll get to where we want to get to.
We've had a lot of questions come in advance. There will be opportunity to take questions from the floor later as well. But there are a few areas that have come up repeatedly. So let's get into some of those. Stephen, this is the first chance we've had to hear from you since the accounts were released a couple of weeks ago. Headline figures, £11.1 million loss. That's down from the season before. Big jump in revenue, having been back in the Championship, up £10 million. Significant transfer activity as well, in and out. Clouds Development's underlining their commitment to the club as well. A lot of numbers in there. What are the main things that supporters need to know from the accounts this year?
Well, I think we always talk about doing things sustainably and making sure that we do things the right way. And David said that first from the moment he came in. I think what you'll see from the accounts, even though we are running it in a relatively sustainable way versus a number of other football clubs when you look around, a loss of £11 million is still a significant loss, and the amount of money that David and Clouds Development's put into the business plan is not insignificant. As you mentioned, in terms of the sort of player spend, you can see from the accounts over the last sort of 12 months, spanning the sort of 2 summers, if you like, probably spent about £23 million in the transfer window. Obviously, we generated some significant amounts from player sales as well, but football isn't a profitable business, so needs that underpinning and that support from the owners like David. But I think what you can see from there as well is that we've got significant amount of P&S headroom. So people may say, well, why have we not gone and why have we not spent even more? And I think it's all because it's part of that plan, and we don't want to overspend with the cash that we have versus necessarily what headroom we've got. We want to make this a longer term plan, as John just said. But I think the accounts coming out show we're in a good place. It got a lot of positive PR from independent people that have looked at them, and shows again we've done what we said we'd do in that regard.
You touched on it there. There was that very specific reference to the club always living within its means. Is that the starting point for every decision that's made?
Yeah, if we've not got it, we won't do it. And it's not just for this year. We have to plan sort of 2 years forwards at least as well, because you sign a player on a 3-year contract. You can't just look at this current year, so you've got to almost forecast that forwards to make sure that the impact that will have in the future. So with players dropping off, players that you sign, you've got to make sure that you're on top of that. So It's something we look at all the time, and you know, if we haven't got it, we won't do it, and we won't speculate either. So we won't turn around and say, well, oh, actually we'll do this, and hopefully we'll sell this player for this amount, or we might, you know, get a partnerships or a sponsorship deal for this amount. We never try and speculate in that regard. We always make sure it's what we've actually got in, and you know, we then look at it and do like sensitivity analysis to say, well, if we do this, then we possibly can do that, and scenario plan. But we'd never act on it unless it was in the bag.
Talk of finances almost always inevitably leads to talk of transfers. So John, question we've had from Nav. Have you given Stephen 2 shopping lists for January, dependent on where we are in the league? Yes, it's November, and we are talking about the January transfer window already.
He's only got 1 shopping list, no matter where we are in the league, so it doesn't matter. Listen, I think, as I've already said, I think the investment that we've already brought in has been fantastic, but that's allowed us to be competitive in the league with all the other teams. So you look at all the other teams around us, at the top and the bottom, all these teams have spent millions of pounds, and they've got sustained championship experience. So I don't think we've done anything that we shouldn't have done to make sure that we're competitive and we're building. Some of the players that we brought in have been fantastic assets as well. So you look at Patrick, you look at Brewster, Max Johnson. You know, we're creating assets now at the football club, which is what we need to do. We need to bring players in and make sure that we're successful. But if we're successful, then we're selling these players on for big money as well, which allows us to keep developing and bringing better players in. And to do that takes time. So, you know, when you're asking these players to come in and hit the ground running at the start of the season, when they're not used to the league, they're not fit, lots of different things on that side of it, then it's very difficult. But over the course of the season, you know, we're going to be doubling, tripling what we paid for these players, and I think that's a really good business model as well, because we've actually spent some really good money to bring them players in. So I think we're doing it properly. It's going to take time, and if we can bring in 2 or 3 more quality players in January, that would be amazing. If not, you know, we have to look where we are from a business point of view, which I get, and just making sure that I do my job and just make sure that we keep being competitive. And if we can overachieve and get to where we want to get to, that would be fantastic. But we're doing it the right way. I think you look at a lot of clubs who have overspent, even us in the past. You know, we've gambled to try and get into the Premier League, and it's cost us. So, you know, I've come here, as I've said at the start of the night, you know, to build over the next 2 or 3 years and have a club that I'm very proud to be working for, and saying that we're doing it properly, and then success will definitely come. I'm pretty confident in that.
Nav also asked about Carlton Morris, and we had a couple of questions about him. You can't have had many signings that have worked out this well, this quickly before as Carlton, surely?
Yeah, I've had a couple. You know, I do know what I'm doing. But again, listen, Carlton's 29, so when you look at his background, you know, he's done the hard yards. He's been at the non-league. He's been released. He's been relegated. He's played through all the leagues. We've got a player at 29 who's still very hungry. So when I went and met him, as soon as the season finished, I sat down.
You're not meant to say that, by the way.
Oh right. Okay. Well, okay, should we move on? Thanks, Steve. So obviously sitting down with Carlton, whenever I sat down, I can't remember when it was now.
August.
In August. So when I sat down with him, anyway, I looked in his eyes and said, do you want to come to Derby County? And he said, yes, I do. I said, are you hungry? He said, I won't tell you exactly what. He said, I'm very hungry and I can't wait to get going. I want to come and play for a fantastic football club, and I want to come and play for you. And as soon as he said that, I knew we'd got a top player coming. He got a point to prove, and I think his performances are showing that we've got a real coup there. The money we paid for him at 29, he's still in his prime. A lot of people have given up on him. And I think his performances have been outstanding, and I know that there's going to be even more to come from him. You know, he wants to do really well for the lads, but most importantly, he wants to do well for you supporters and the club. I think we're very fortunate that he's here, but he's also very fortunate that he's here as well. So we've got to make sure he gets 20 goals this year and puts us in the right areas.
Stephen, there have been changes in the recruitment team recently. We've had this question from John Mayer. With Mark Thomas and several other key staff members departing across different areas of the club, what's the long-term vision for Derby County's recruitment strategy and academy development?
So nothing's changed in terms of that strategy. You know, people make moves in their careers and changes, and you know, not going to talk about individuals in that regard, but nothing's changed in terms of the strategy that we've got. We always said in terms of our, if you call it the wider bit of that department, which is the sporting intelligence side, that we'd have a talent acquisition person in there, which it wasn't the priority at the moment, because we've always got Lee Bromby helping us at the moment in terms of that, which has been fantastic help and a fantastic addition in terms of from the recruitment side and helping with that side as well as things. But we also said about a talent ID, which is effectively, if you talk about it in old money, is that sort of head of scouting. So we wanted to split those. We didn't want that sort of head of recruitment that was in charge of the negotiations, all of that side of things, and in charge of our identification of the players. It's just too big. League One, yes, great, it's fine, but I think it's once you get to the levels that we're looking at now, they just don't, you wouldn't have the bandwidth, you just can't have that role. So nothing's changed. We're just now evolving to say, right, actually now we're looking at that next tier of players, that next sort of tier and calibre of players, and how do we get the right people structure in place. But that's always been there, that sort of head of sporting intelligence, head of talent ID, head of talent acquisition. And as we've gone along, we've just recruited another effectively data and analytics lead, which is all around the sort of football side of data and analytics, as opposed to the rest of the business on the supported data or the commercial data, and they start at the start of December as well. So we're trying to build that whole background and keep building on it, because again, I know it takes time for things to settle, but some of the transfers that we've done have paid off from using all of that side of things. And I think from talking then about Carlton Morris, we'd always said previously, and that John wants a real mix of that experience in there as well. And we've really tried to look at it, or the team have tried to look at it to go, well, if you've got somebody with that experience, you can actually have a Pat that comes in there, and we know that with John and his coaches' experience and the talent that they've got and the track record of developing these players, Carlton can do that as well. So we can help bring these ones along, just like you did with Will Hughes back in the day. Exactly. So yeah, so for us,
he's on the list in January, by the way.
Are we starting this again so early?
There was also, speaking of the academy, a question more specifically about the academy, Stephen. How does Derby County plan to compete with Category 1 academies nationwide when it comes to attracting, developing and retaining top youth talent? Obviously, this comes at a time, I guess there will be some transition at Moor Farm because Matt Hale is leaving post at the end of the season.
Yeah, so in terms of us with our Category 1 status, we take it really, really seriously. David is back to, he's not cheap to run a Category 1 academy, and we build that into our business model. And obviously with the sale of Erin Cashin earlier in the year, it just shows what you can generate if you develop some of these younger assets, and we want to be that. I know Alex mentioned before about the values that we got there. We do want to be that club of opportunity. We've been that club of opportunity for as long as I can remember. So it is massively important for us. The one thing that we won't be able to always do and always be able to compete with is the big Premier League clubs that can throw money at players. But we always give people that pathway. We sell them that pathway, and we have to have a track record to show them that we will give them that opportunity. They've got to take that opportunity, and John will only give them that opportunity if they're capable and they're worthy of it. But for us, we're massively bought into that. I think I talked about last time, I forget about the B team model that we'd done. So that's sort of still in its early infancy days. Again, it's almost a bit of a trial year for us to be able to do that, because it's difficult synchronising and organising all the fixtures and with them on different days, because your Premier League 2 games are either Fridays or Mondays, and first team play Saturdays or Tuesdays, and so it's really difficult to get everything organised, but it's something that we're really bought into. So what we do is we've set up that it's almost a standalone B team staffing. So within there, we've got a performance coach, we've got 2 coaches, we've got people looking at the analysis, doing the individual development plans, to almost try and focus and fast track our top tier of talent through that B team. And John has them involved almost on a daily basis in terms of the first team training sessions and in-house games, to give them that opportunity, because what you do have with the category 1 academies and the Premier League 2 is they almost are taught across all the academies to play Premier League football, whereas what we want them to be able to do is be able to play for Derby County in that championship style as well. So by having the Premier League 2 games, they can carry on that normal track, but by also having this sort of B team model alongside and being integrated with the first team, they can learn how to play John's style of football and the championship and that physicality and all of that side of things. So we're really bought into it, and we go on opportunity as opposed to just the highest bidder, really.
That leads us on to this for you, John, from Paul Sandwell. Are there any players in the academy, without naming them, who you could see in the first team as regulars within a year or 2?
Yeah, there's definitely the potential for sure. You know, the coaches we've got in the academy are top coaches. You know, and the environment they're working in every day is top, and we've just got to make sure they get that mentality to know how to win games. Ultimately, we want to win, and then players coming up have got to train with men and maybe go out on loan to lower league or non-league to understand what it takes to win games and go up against that real physicality. But we've got 2 or 3 at the moment. Obviously, we had 11 train with us over the pre-season period, and they were given an opportunity there, so they had great exposure and experience on that. You saw a few of them playing in pre-season, so you know they're taking good steps going forward. It's, you know, they've still got a lot of hard work to ahead of them, but with the likes of Carlton and Danny Bath, Andy Vyman, just training alongside them kind of players, they're learning and developing every day. So, you know, I'm really pleased with the way the young boys are progressing, and I really hope that, you know, from now to the end of the season we can start getting them some minutes, because obviously we want to develop our own players, we want to bring our own players through, and, you know, I wouldn't be any prouder seeing, you know, a few of them coming in from now to the end of the season, and, you know, that's the club doing a fantastic job.
On a similar train of thought, I guess, this from James Brooks. How do we decide where young players go on loan? We have several out at the moment who are not really getting the minutes needed to support their development. So how do you decide on where players are going to go out if they go out on loan?
So I think there's a bit of a mixture. Sometimes it's opportunity, as in clubs come to us and go, actually we're looking for this and we've seen one of your players. We do try and do a little bit of targeting as well. So for the younger academy players, we try and focus as well on it being about their experience and what they're going to get. So if you put them out to non-league or if you put them out to lower divisions, sometimes clubs can't necessarily cover the finances of their wages. So we don't always make it about the finances in that regard either. We make it about the opportunity for the player and their development. So it's a mixture. So we have some people in the academy loans department that will have the relationships and try and get them. There'll be speculative people inquiring, or there'll be ones where we say, actually, we may approach clubs, but it's something that we are working and developing on as well, and we also want to get better at, if we're honest. It's something that John's really keen on, is those guys getting the opportunity. And I think you've seen, we had obviously with Paul Clement coming into the goalkeeping department when John came in, the loans that we've had for some of our academy goalkeepers and the development that's been with those guys has been phenomenal. And I think we want to continue with that type of thing. So the loans is a big part of the pathway for us, because you can send a player out to non-league for a month. It's not, you know, it's not like you've got to go by the summer and the January transfer windows.
I suspect we'll get more questions from the floor on January later. We'll maybe preempt those a little bit here. Owen Moy asks, will we be concentrating on UK-based players in the January window or looking overseas as well? If so, where? In the last forum, you said purchasing Salverson and Langas in January was a timing mistake, as the Norwegian season had just finished, resulting in their long-term injuries with overexposure. So where are we shopping in January, gents?
Is that for me? Crystal Palace. I'd probably say it's never say never in terms of the foreign transfers, but I think what we're really conscious of now is that if we do bring them in, it wouldn't be to be thrown straight in. That's probably fair, isn't it? So, look, I wouldn't want to give our transfer targets or where we're looking at away, but I think I wouldn't rule out doing that, but we wouldn't make, and there's not the same mistakes, but we wouldn't make that point of going, actually, we want somebody to come in from a completely different league that is, that season ended 2 months ago and expect them to start in the first team on day one. That, we wouldn't do that again. But I think we're trying to spread our net wide, but at the same time, we want experience in there as well that can hit the ground running if we do anything.
John, we had plenty of questions for you about targets for the season. Liam Flynn asks, what's your minimum goal for the season, e.g. mid-table, top 6, top 2, and are you on track to achieve that? Adam Conway, similar sort of vein. Have the team's aims and goals changed for this season amid the recent good run?
No, I think when you go into every season, I think 50 points is your starting block. The quicker we get to 50 points, the better, and then we can assess it from there. But we have to remember, 2 seasons ago we were in League One. Last season we nearly got relegated, so we have to be sensible on our targets. Again, expectation here at the football club is very high, obviously because of the size of the club and the fan base, and I get that. But we have to be realistic as well. My aim is to get to 50 points as quickly as we can, and then let's see where we can go from there. It's very important that we're better than last season, and to do that I think we have to sustain that championship status quickly and make sure that home and away, whoever we play, teams know they're in for a very difficult game. And for me, I think apart from possibly one game, which obviously I was made well aware of, we probably weren't, but it's important that we're better than last season, and we keep building and building, and that's my main aim for this season.
Looking ahead, John M asks, we've seen glimpses of how you, John, want the team to play. What's the next evolution of your tactical plan? And when you look 18 to 24 months ahead, what do you want Derby County to look like on and off the pitch under your leadership?
Yeah, as I say, home and away, no matter who we're playing against, they know they're against a top team, and to do that, it does take time. But we're on track to do that. My team's always very difficult to play against. I want us to be exciting with the ball as well. I think we've done that at times. I think you look at the front three that we've got starting at the moment. We look very dangerous when we win the ball back, when we're going up the pitch. I'd like to maybe control possession a little bit more, but possession isn't the be all and end all. It's about winning games at the end of the day, and no matter how you do it, you're going to come up against very good tactical managers, very good teams. So we have to find a way to win, and that's what I want our Derby County team to do. Home and away, whoever we play against, we've got a plan, and we win more than we lose.
2 more for you, Stephen, before we go to the floor. Tony Buchan asks, recognising the importance of commercial income in support of the club, what steps are being taken to increase non-match day income?
So in terms of the non-match day income, we've got a really successful conference and events side of the business, and the stadium's always busy. I think one of the challenges that we've got, and I feel a bit sorry for the commercial stuff, only sometimes, Dave, only sometimes, is we're constantly asking people to drive the revenues, but it's how do we create more for them to actually sell? There's only so many bits of inventory that people can actually sell on a match day and a non-match day without just putting prices up, and I think that's one that we are constantly looking at. So I think if you look at the excellent games that we had from the FA, so we've had the 21s, we've had 2 women's games with the England, the Lionesses, which was an unbelievable event. The atmosphere around the stadium, it was phenomenal. And I think those types of things, the reputation that we're building in terms of how the staff put events on, and the standard that we can get to for those is word is getting around, and I think for us that's excellent. So I think trying to use it for whether there's concerts, any of those types of events, that's things we want to do, but it takes time to be able to get on the sort of rotas for these things. Is a long leading time, but we're having all of those conversations, and it's also how can we create additional offerings both on a match day and a non-match day as people's tastes change. It's the traditional box of 10 hospitality people move away from, but we did the Captain's Club a few years ago, which has been a roaring success. It's how do we think about other things like that is more of a casual experience, but people really enjoy it. So we're constantly looking at it, but I think it's one whereby I can't and we can't keep just asking our commercial department to generate more with what they've got. So we're always looking for new ideas of how we can make things better and drive those revenues, because it helps with the bottom line, and every spare penny that we get goes to the first team to have that success on the pitch.
And Jake Hardy asks, this has been a subject at these forums before, has there been any advancement towards an away ticket price cap in the Championship?
Still, I'm afraid the simple answer is there's not. We're constantly talking about it, constantly push it, every sort of group meetings, but I think it's unlikely, if I'm honest, at the moment.
Is that searching for consensus among the clubs, effectively?
Yeah, it is literally that. It's so difficult because you just need a couple of clubs to say that doesn't work for me for their own legitimate reasons. We can't say if we were probably in that situation, but it's so difficult to do, and the regulations that need changing. I mean, for us, we've been pushing for quite a number of years, because what we charge to away fans, we believe is too cheap almost. But they look at the constructions of the stadium, and we've tried to look at how we change the rules, because we think when you look at what we get charged at other football clubs versus what we end up charging, we're not allowed to charge any more to the away fans, but our fans obviously get charged a lot more when they go away. So it does need looking at, but it's all about consensus.
John, two for you before we go to the floor. The first is very specific. Lewis Roberts asks, can you explain the tactics behind the goal kick routine with a defender passing it to Zederstrom to kick it long? What's the thinking of not kicking it long from the off instead of bringing pressure to our defence? If you could give us some insight.
Can you say that again? No, okay, so the reason we do that, obviously, given the opportunity to play short and play through a team, I think you look at the first goal that possibly we scored at Stoke, and I think we scored another goal that way, and we're trying to drag the team onto us. And when a team comes onto us, then if we play short, they have to come and press. Now, with our front players, then that allows us to go over the press to Carlton and to Patrick, where we're then getting a lot of joy at the moment from doing that. So if we set up to go long, then I think teams will then drop off and maybe stop us being fairly successful at doing that. So we want to drag teams onto us to allow us to go into the big fellas, if that makes sense.
I don't know if Lewis is in the room or not, but lots of heads nodding around, so excellent. And finally, John, for now, Nick Redmayne asks, John, what's been the biggest unexpected challenge that you've come up against this season?
No, there's been no unexpected challenge. Listen, to be a head coach in the Championship and a club of this size, it's challenge. Every day has a challenge, and it's my job and the staff to make sure that we overcome them challenges. Now, you can't do it all the time, but what I will promise is the staff and myself are putting 100% in every day to try and bring success to the football club. And, as long as I've got that commitment from the staff and the players and myself, then, that's all I ask for. Believe you me, it's very, very challenging, but also very rewarding when we go to Sheffield United and you win. And then, last season, last day of the season, when we stay up against Stoke and seeing, all you guys supporting the group, that it makes it all worthwhile. It's to manage Derby is challenging. To manage Kidderminster Harriers, who I know was manager there, that was challenging as well. But you know, life's a challenge, and to be here and sitting in front of you guys is something I'm very proud of, and I want them challenges to keep coming in front of me, because, you know, we want to break them down and make sure that we're successful, and that's what I want to bring to the club.
Gentlemen, thank you both. I'm going to head out onto the floor now. If you have a question for either Stephen or John, hands in the air, please. We'll get a microphone over to you. Please do give us your name when you ask your question as well. We'll start here, where the first hand came up.
Hello, this is for John. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for making the fans feel so valued. I hope I'm speaking for everyone, but we really do feel part of that family now, and you seem to recognise how we feel about the club, so thank you. I'd be interested in how, we're all experts in the stands, of course, how do you make that decision over playing a format, tactics that optimise the players you've got versus a preferred style and a direction of travel you want to go? And have you changed your outlook on that since you've been at Derby?
No, I haven't changed my outlook on it. I think to be a head coach now, you have to be flexible, and it is about the players. It's not about how you want to play necessarily. It's about how we can get the best out of the group of players. So as the season's gone, for the first 15 games, we've had players available. We haven't had players available. So we've played 2 or 3 different formations, which I felt was the most competitive. Now with the players available at the moment, we've found a formation that is very successful at the moment, but if we get injuries and suspensions, then I might have to change that format again, you know, and not be stubborn about I want to play a certain way. It's just about getting the best out of the players, and I feel as a head coach, to do that you have to make sure they feel comfortable in their positions and they all understand their roles and responsibilities, and you know, that's key, I think, to be a head coach, making sure you're flexible in your tactics.
Next question, we've got hands on this side of the room.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Joe. I've just got a question on, are there any areas on the pitch in terms of squad dev where you feel like we need strengthening in terms of bringing in a few more numbers in January?
Thanks for that one.
Yeah, no, listen, I think it's evident we're short in a couple of areas for sure. But, you know, you look at Bobby Clark filling in as a controlling midfielder at the moment. You know, when we brought Bobby in, we expected him to be an exciting forward player who's going to create and score. But, you know, again, being adaptable and flexible, we've put him in there, and I think he's been a star player for us in the last 5 or 6 games, you know, so... You know, we want to bring in players, of course we do, that can help the squad, but if not, we have to get players to come in and fill roles when they're called upon. And even Patrick now playing on the left side as a 10, you know, he's coming as a 9, but he's filling in, he's learning the role, his responsibilities now without the ball are greater. But again, that adds another string to his bow, and, you know, hopefully, you know, he'll keep improving as a player. But you know, wherever we're short, we're always going to have players to fill in, and, you know, they've got to get on with it, you know, and learn the role and make sure they put 100% in.
It's Ray to Stephen. You say we can't charge away fans more, but we charge less than they do for the other corners.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's an argument that yeah, so for us, it's all around the way that the EFL regulations are really strict based on certain areas of the stadium, and we've tried to run that argument quite a number of times, but that's not how the regulations are worded. So it's they don't necessarily recognise the fact of different views within a bowl stadium, which might sound crazy, but it is crazy. I mean, I'm looking at the back of the room to our Chief Commercial Officer, Dave. You know, he and I have this. We put proposals every year to the Football League about this because, you know, you're absolutely right. You know, we shouldn't be, but it's just that the regulations are written like that, and it's so difficult to get them changed. And you know, we tried to do it, and we had to change back. And look, it costs us significant, multiple 6-figure sums in revenue based on the fact that what we would expect to be charging versus what we're allowed to charge. So it costs us significantly.
Next question. I'm not sure if there was a hand here. There was.
Hi, I'm Jason. Hi, John, Stephen. Wouldn't be another fans forum question, would it, on transfers? But I'm reading between the lines with what you're saying with the analytics. So that's going down the very Brentford route with regards to bringing players in on data that's obtained. John, I guess you're very much heart and emotion kind of guy with your players. So I'm very interested to see how your relationship's going to be over the next year with dealing with how you're going to do those player discussions and what you think. So how are you going to play it? Are you going to do one player on analytics, one player on the heart?
No, I think it's a group effort. I think obviously we'll get players targeted from the data, but we'll also get players targeted as well for the good old-fashioned scouting system as well. And then it's just getting that mix and that blend. And, you know, if players are coming in which hit all the data points, then we have to do our homework. We have to find out about them, about their personality, what they do, where they go, are they married, are they not married, you know, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more that goes on than just picking a player from the data and bringing them in. So it's a hell of a lot of hard work from the recruitment side and also the coaches. You know, we have to put a lot of research into all the players that we're bringing to the football club. And I know the department's getting stronger now, and the players coming in, I'm hoping will certainly impact for sure.
And just to reassure you that there is no one bit that trumps another part. So we wouldn't just sign a player on data. We wouldn't just sign, you know, it's about, all we're trying to do is gather as much information as possible that can help us with that decision. So we've signed players in the summer that on the data were not great. We've signed others that were amazing on the data, but essentially, you know, not in other areas. But I think for us, it is about gathering as much information as possible to make the decisions. And I think when you look at some of the players, and I said that weren't great on the data, we've had those conversations with the coaching staff to say, well, we know what your strengths are. And although some of the bits in the data are not great, the bits that are good in there, you can't necessarily coach, and you can't, if you had to go and buy them, it'd cost you an absolute fortune. So it all goes into the mix to just help the decision. We'd never try and just do a pure Brentford-Brighton data-only model. That's not what we're looking to do.
Let's see the hands. I was told there was one round here. Yes, there is.
What's been your favourite game this season?
Last week was quite a good one. You know, that was quite a good one, yeah. The Blackburn game.
Stephen, you got a favourite?
Probably last week. Yeah. I like Sheffield United as well. That was it was amazing. And it was the timing of Carlton's goal as well while the music was still playing.
Good question. Right, this side of the room. Any hands over here? We'll go here and then back to the middle.
Yes, I know you've talking about the tickets prices. How do you work it on with the allocation of away tickets to what we give to the club and what they allow us to have?
So the away allocations, it's not necessarily to do with pricing, so the away allocations are effectively 10% of your ground capacity, which for us is 3,000, just over, slightly over. Or you can give 2,000, I think it is, Dave, isn't it? That's correct. So it's basically, you can either give 2,000 or you can give your 10% in terms of there. So reading between the lines, if you're asking about allocations previously, clubs can turn around to us and say, we'll give you 2,000, that's it, you're not having any more, there's nothing we can do. Because that is the minimum that the regulations say. But for us, I think the way that the stadium's configured, sometimes naturally that will affect our overall attendance because we've got that 3,000 capacity in the corner. We can't open it to our home fans if we've only got 900 away in there. But as I say, for our away games, it's 10% or 2,000.
We've got about 10 more minutes. We'll try and get in as many questions as we can. I'll come to a few on the front.
Hi, both. I've got a question for both of you. So, John first. So obviously, we've got the likes of Ben Brenton Diaz on loan at the moment. And obviously, you talked about how you want to grow a sustainable club and sell on value. How does that work on a day-to-day model when you've got a player that is in your starting 11 that's not a Derby County player on paper? And how does that look going as a long-term future as you want to grow the asset as well?
Yeah, we've also got to make sure that we're competitive. We've got to make sure that we've got good players in the squad who are going to help develop the others. So bringing the loan players in are helping the group. You know, we're bringing in top quality players in of that ilk. So he's only going to make Patrick, Carlton, Bobby, you know, Ebbs, all these players better. So yes, they're not going to be with us long term, but what they're doing short term with the group is, you know, ultimately why we bring them in.
A bit more of a difficult question, Stephen. So over the last kind of like year, our recruitment's changed in how we go about things, but obviously we've seen quite a lot of departures from the club recently. Is that because it hasn't worked, or with the other club looking in to do it in a different direction, or is it just people move on?
Yeah, it's just people move on, and I think, you know, as I'd said, in terms of the recruitment role, when we started this project off in League One, we're a totally different beast to where we are now, and people's ambitions and aspirations change. And I think for us, we've not changed what we want to do with those roles. We've always wanted to have that head of sporting intelligence, talent acquisition, which does the sort of the networking, the negotiation side of things, and is the person that's out there, and then someone that's purely on talent ID. And I think people that we've had in roles previously have got aspirations to want to do the bigger role and do all of it. So, you know, people naturally move on, but nothing's changed in terms of where we've gone. And I think the success that we've had over the last couple of years has been excellent, and all those people have been a massive part of it, and we can't thank them enough. And we hope they're really successful in what they go on to do in the future.
I think there was another question on the front row here.
Hi, I'm Sue. It's a question for you, Stephen. I go in the yard before and after the match, and it's a lovely facility, and I just feel it's unused. It could be used a lot more often, and I just wonder if you've got any plans to do anything with it.
Yes, we have, and I think for us, we like to use it on a non-match day for events. I'm not sure it's something that we could look at to open it daily as we used to, because it didn't work when we had that. It lost too much money in that regard. In terms of a match day offering, it is something that we are looking at to see whether we can use it. But again, we're always conscious around changing the use of things as well, because if we change it to something else on a match day, and then you can't go in for your cup of tea. Yeah, and I guess. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's something that we are definitely looking at in terms of what we're trying to do, because I think, look, for us, the yard, the fans park, we've been looking at that for years in terms of how we can develop that and make that a better offering for people as well. This comes back to a bit of the question that I got earlier on. We are looking at ways of how we can better the experience on a match day, but also help us generate more money by having a better offering and more to offer for people. So it is on the radar. Yeah, yeah. Fair comment. I'll take the slap on the wrist.
Hi, my name's Mike, and it's a question for both of you. Now, we all talk about the transfers we're hoping we're going to get in January, but how are you going to resist people coming in for your players who are integral into the way the team's performing at the moment? Do you say no, they can't go, or do you just let them go and say, well, we're just banking the money? Bear in mind that you'll have to spend the money to replace them, and you may not get the same sort of person that's actually making the team tick at the moment.
All I'd say is we've we've got to be eternally thankful to our owner, David Clowes, in terms of this. So if you look back over the last 2 years with where we were with Aaron Cashin, Brighton were chasing him for a long, long time, and David turned down what were significant offers at the time in League One when we could have done a lot with the money. I guess we've also done the similar when you talked about academy players earlier. We've had top Premier League clubs come in and put significant 7-figure sums in for some of our academy players, and David has always said back to us, because we as a club have said, look, this is not something that if we want to be a Cat 1 academy or we want to get to where we want to get to, this is not the right time or what we do for our journey. And David has always backed us, but we've always said, look, if you want to do it, we'll obviously support it, and he's always done that. So I think from the track record that we've had over the last few years, unless it gets to a situation where we would be insane to turn things down, which we got to that stage in January, if I'm honest. But again, hopefully people are happy with what we spent a small amount of the money on to replace him. It's a calculated decision, but it wouldn't be one just made on purely money to derail it if we didn't have the time to replace it properly. But again, we've got to take each one on a case-by-case basis, but it's not something that we're planning to do. And I think the environment and the coaching and the development that John's created so far in the last almost year, if you like, is, you can see it on the players and how they're developing. So I think it's down to you to keeping them on the pitch then.
Firstly, thank you very much for the great job that you're doing for Derby. We do really appreciate it.
Thank you.
What happened at Oxford?
Yeah. No, listen, it's there's going to be bumps in the road, of course there are. Do you know what I mean? And that's Championship football. And, we were really disappointed in Oxford, we get that, but it's about how you respond. Yeah, no, and I totally agree with you, and sometimes, that happens. It's the Championship, but it's how you respond from that. Oh, he's excellent. He's one of the best. You're absolutely right. Especially at this level, he's top draw. Yeah. It's how you respond. It's how you respond, and we might be flat again Saturday. We might be flat in a month's time, but it's how we respond from that. And I think the way the boys have responded has been fantastic. And that's, the culture and the environment we want to set. And also, with the fans, with you guys, you made sure that we knew about that performance, quite rightly so as well. No, but again, then when we did well the following week, you were right behind us, and that's what we're all about. In families, there's ups and downs, people get upset, but it's how you come through it, and as long as we come through it together, that's all I ask for.
Everyone, we are just about out of time. That brings our evening to a close. Remind you, you'll be able to watch tonight's event back in full on RamsTV. The guys will be working overnight to make sure it's available as soon as possible, won't you guys? Thank you very much indeed. Hopefully it'll be out tomorrow for you to watch. Thank you again for coming tonight, and as always for your terrific support. Let's hear it for all our guests, in particular Stephen Pearce and John Eustace, of course.
Thank you.
Safe journey home, everyone. Thank you very much. Good night.